Flushing girl from Flushing, the nanny named Fran.
Oh, Mr. Sheffield.
Miss Fine.
Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the penultimate episode of Oh, Mr. Sheffield, Season 5. I am Sean DePasquale here with...
Toria Sheffield.
That's right, and we are getting ready to wrap it all up with The Wedding, Part 1. I can only assume, even though I already watched the episode, but I'm going to play dumb for a minute, I can only assume that this is the first part of some thrilling... a two-parter where we'll have like some huge cliffhanger at the end of this one that will, thrust us into the heart of episode 2, part 2. I can't wait. And then now I'm gonna go, wait, record scratch? That's not what happens. And also, this is a freaking clip show. How dare they?
Well, no, I have a slightly different description or take. I wrote Fran, Val, and Sylvia get stranded on the side of the road. Well, Maxwell has a clip episode. And I also used the word penultimate. I wrote, this is the penultimate episode of the season, and it takes place the day before the wedding.
We use penultimate because we're flexing how smart we are, and no one cares, and that's why we don't love ourselves.
Actually, pronounced penultimate in the traditional Latin. That's made up. I don't think that's true.
Yeah, it's not true. It's not called penultimate.
So who wrote, who directed? Give me all the goods.
Oh, geez. You want information about this? What is this? Some kind of informational podcast where we talk about the episodes and discuss them? Well, okay. Here's what I'll tell you. First of all, this episode is just credited as The Wedding on IMDb. It is called Season 5, Episode 22, The Wedding. So I'm not sure if that means that they chopped it up for streaming or for, I don't know, maybe when they did, what do you call it, reruns, syndication, maybe at one point they chopped it up. So I don't know how that works, or if IMDb just has it wrong. I'm not really sure. But The Wedding, which is, I guess, the full hour, is credited to Karen Lucas as the writer, who's written a bunch of great episodes, and Peter Mark Jacobson directed both parts of this.
And I just want to say, I know we're jumping ahead. There was some parts in the part 2 episode where I was like, oh my gosh, I love how this is directed. And I didn't even know it was Peter Mark Jacobson. So it was like very thrilling to find out after the fact.
Thrilling. It was a thrill.
Stop being so sassy. This is our penultimate episode of season 5.
I know. I'm wearing a bow tie to celebrate.
I don't believe it.
And only a bow tie.
But I thought there was some really fun parts of this, despite it being a clip episode, and some really sweet parts. And I laughed out loud a bunch. So I while I was disappointed initially when I thought it was going to be like a very traditional clip episode, I was very pleasantly surprised by the time the episode ended, and really enjoyed it. And so, as we said, it's the day before the wedding, and it starts off. So Jocelyn, who is Mr. Sheffield's sister, who we have met previously,
she sucks.
Well, but here's the thing. Well, she
sucks. I hate Jocelyn so much. I have so many notes about, I hate this fucking lady.
So she shows up and she's alone. She was supposed to come with Mr. Sheffield's mother.
Yes, she's alone, and she's going to die alone too because she's miserable rich.
Well, here's the thing. This is not the actress who initially played Jocelyn, and they significantly changed her character from the first time we met her. And it could be that it was just like, it served the plot of this episode to do that, or it could be that maybe she's now bitter because of things that have happened to her. But it was, this character was initially played by Twiggy, and she was very warm and very sweet, and we were very much rooting for her and her driver to get together. This actress in the recast is Sophia Ward, and I don't know, maybe Twiggy wasn't available.
Twiggy was like, I hated that experience, and I'm never coming back.
No.
It was most likely she was probably booked, I guess. I don't know. It was a weird recast, though, because they did make her so mean.
The Jocelyn who we now meet is very much, she's like very classist.
Yes.
She's very passive aggressive, clearly tries to say things that will upset people in a very cold English way. And hey, maybe it's because, as we learn later, she's going through a terrible divorce and she's drinking more or something.
Yeah.
But so she comes in, and at first Mr. Sheffield's really happy to see her. And he's like, well, where's Mother? And she's like, oh, Mother declined the invitation, which, by the way, is like a huge move.
Huge. Like I know someone whose mother didn't come to their wedding, and it's huge. It's a massive thing, you know?
Yes. And
so for her to not come is really funny. It's really rude.
She doesn't come because she disapproves of Fran and doesn't think that, she has enough class for their family. And
that's generally why they don't come, right? Is because there's a disapproval on some level. I mean, obviously, like if they're too sick to travel is like very different. I think when you're talking about like, oh my God, this person's parents didn't want to come, it's usually like, I don't like who you're marrying, so I will not be there, which is such a terrible thing.
It's silly strategically too, because it's like, you're not really helping your kid in the long run. Because if you really don't like this person and maybe you think it's not going to work out, then it's like, don't you want to be there for your kid at the end of all that?
Yeah, and don't you want to be there when they go speak now or forever hold your peace, so you can be like, I have something to say. Like that's the whole thing. I would wait until that moment. Honestly, I wouldn't even communicate it to my child that I disapproved. I would just hold on to it for years throughout their whole relationship until they were at the wedding, and then I would be like, I have something to say.
That's the long game.
Yeah.
I like it. But so Mr. Sheffield finds this out, and then he's like, well, yes, maybe Fran was a little rough around the edges when she first came into our lives, but she's been around high society for long enough. She's changed. And then we cut to our first bout of clips, which is a montage of every time Fran has cleaned her teeth, or like kind of like gone off to the side with her finger in her teeth, which is very funny. But there's so many to choose from.
Yes.
And it was a kind of a quick fun montage to little music. And then we cut back and he's like, yes, she's definitely evolved. We then cut to what Fran is doing right now in real time. And she is buying lingerie at a store, and Val and Sylvia are there, and she's asking if the edible underwear come in petite. And she's very happy when it turns out they have pineapple edible underwear.
This sets up one of my favorite jokes in the next episode.
Yes.
So good. So wait, how are we doing this? Are we doing this? Is this going to be one long episode?
No. We're going to do one and one.
You think we should do 2 episodes?
You literally said last week to the listeners.
I know, but now that I've seen what these are like, it feels like kind of, I don't know. It feels weird.
No,
all right,
let's do one and one.
All right, let's do one.
Because I prepared for one.
All right. You don't have to holler.
I'm going to holler off mic. Sean has something coming to him after this, guys. I feel like we're very loopy today. I don't know why. Maybe because it's the end of the season.
It is. It's a celebration.
Like the end of summer. Or no, it's like the end of school and summer's coming.
I put whiskey in my coffee.
Oh, yeah, but that's just how you get through a day.
Yeah.
So now they're at this lingerie store, and Fran becomes absolutely frantic when she finds out that this white negligee she ordered especially for the wedding night came in the wrong color, and it actually came in black. And she's like, oh my God, it has to be white. This is my marriage night. This is the first night we're like consummating our relationship. Like, this will not do. And they find out that
this is a great Sylvia line. Sylvia screams at the top of her lungs, she can't wear black. It's her wedding night. She has to look like a virgin. And then there's like a beat. And she goes, I said, look.
Yes, because the sales girl gives them such a look of like, really?
Yeah, like, oh, she's a virgin, this 40-year-old lady.
Yes. But so the saleswoman is like, well, the store that they come from, it's in South Jersey. There's no way we'll be able to get this next day. And Sylvia also tries to bribe the woman with half a candy bar to, quote, expedite the situation. So then we cut to Fran, Val, and Sylvia. They're driving back from South Jersey because they literally hit the road and went right there to get the white negligee, and now they're on the way back. And so this has been like a several hour mission. And we established that they're taking like a shortcut on this sort of like more desolate strip of the New Jersey back roads, and they get a flat tire. And at first, Val is very pleased with herself because she's like, I learned how to change a flat tire because I got one last week. And then she goes to her trunk and realizes she never replaced the spare.
Well, it's still on the car.
Yes,
Like the spare from last week is still on the car, so there's no spare in the trunk. It's very funny. Have you ever had a flat tire?
No.
Because you're from New York.
Well, I'm from DC.
but you lived in New York for a very long time.
That's true. That's true.
Yeah, that's all I meant. I mean, and also DC is also not really a car town, is it?
No, it is. It's like LA.
Oh, it is. Oh, okay. I thought they don't have good public transportation.
They do. It's like if New York and LA had a baby. So a lot of people take public transportation. A lot of people drive.
That's like Chicago. In my experience, and Philly. Well, depending on where you are in Philly.
But yeah, have you had a flat tire?
Yeah, a bunch of times because Florida is all driving, and I drove for work for a long time. I was working for my dad, and it involved a lot of driving. Yes. But the worst time was I was on a date one time, and like we were driving back from dinner, and like we were like being all flirty, and like I was definitely gonna like go back to her house, and then like we got a flat tire, I just heard like pop and like and I'm like, oh man.
If this was like a sitcom,
ruined everything.
Oh my gosh, if this was like a sitcom, it would have been like you guys would be like making out while driving, and then like right before something would like, then the tire would pop. You know what I mean? What I'm saying?
Yes. I know what you're saying.
You know what I'm saying?
I know. And then
I think they even did that in The Nanny.
They probably did, but yeah, it's pretty annoying. And I know how to change a tire, but I don't really want to. So I just call people usually.
You're not supposed to keep the spare on. I only learned that recently.
No, you're not.
So Val doing that is like extra stupid.
Yeah,
and they're taking that like sort of shortcut where there's not many people on the road. And I also just have to call out that Fran is in the cutest pink outfit. It is, it's like almost French. It's like burgundy shorts or maroon shorts and a pink sort of like almost like military cut shoulders and a beret. It is such a good look on her. And then though, that's neither here nor there.
Yes.
We cut back to the mansion. It's evening. And Mr. Sheffield is just like, alone in his office doing some work. And he is suddenly he's kind of thinking about Fran, and he's just thinking about life, and the sort of French doors just blow open.
This scene wrecked me.
It's such a beautiful scene.
Wrecked me. And I was very emotional watching this.
So the doors blow open, like almost as if like a presence has come in, and suddenly he sees Sarah, his first wife, sitting on the couch, or the settee, as my father, who's English, would have said. I feel like Mr. Sheffield would have as well. And first of all, she's American,
yes, sorry.
Well, she's lovely blonde woman, but she's American, and I never knew that. I always assumed Sarah was English for some reason.
And this was a huge revelation. That was a huge revelation too. To be fair, I also thought she was English, but it makes sense because the kids are not. So I guess. Probably we should have assumed she wasn't, but she calls him Max, which I was like, wait, is that his name though? Like, do people just Fran mostly calls him Mr. Sheffield. She very rarely calls him Max.
Fran calls him Max now.
No. She does?
Yes, so not a revelation at all.
I've never heard Fran call him Max.
Literally roll the tape. She calls him Max now.
Oh, I don't like it. I didn't like it when Sarah did it, and I don't like the thought of Fran doing it.
Oh,
it's way too informal.
Wait, she should call him father or nothing.
He deserves respect. You put respect on his name.
So she shows up, and there's this beautiful moment where basically she is like, Maxwell, I am so happy for you, and like, don't feel bad that you love her. Like, don't feel guilty that you love her. Like, I love her. And he's like, and she's like, and I love what she's done to you, and I love what she's done for our children. And she's like, and that's actually why I sent her to you.
Oh, it's so beautiful. So yes, it's so beautiful. Sarah showing up basically to like give him permission to love Fran. like with all his heart and not feel guilty in and of itself is like so beautiful. And like, but then they end the scene with her basically, she literally says like, I sent her to you because like I knew this would be great. And it's like also like, it's very nice. And it made me think if Elizabeth died, I would kill myself. I would not. I would not go on, and I would never meet a nanny because I would be dead. Unless we had kids, you know.
Yes, I think that's it. I think when you have kids, that's what makes you have to soldier on. But I literally wrote, "Would you want your person to move on?" I wouldn't.
I would despise the children for for forcing me to have to live. No, I'm kidding.
Hey, it's Kaylee Cuoco for Priceline. Ready to go to your happy place for a happy price? Well, why didn't you say so? Just download the Priceline app right now and save up to 60% on hotels. So whether it's Cousin Kevin's Kazoo Concert in Kansas City, go Kevin, or Becky's Bachelorette Bash in Bermuda, you never have to miss a trip ever again. So download the Priceline app today. Your savings are waiting.
Go to your happy place for a happy price. Go to your happy price, Priceline.
When you need mealtime inspiration, it's worth shopping Baker's, where you'll find over 30,000 mouth-watering choices that excite your inner foodie. And no matter what tasty choice you make, you'll enjoy our everyday low prices, plus extra ways to save, like digital coupons worth over $600 each week. You can also save up to $1 off per gallon at the pump with fuel points. More savings and more inspiring flavors make shopping Baker's worth it every time. Baker's, fresh for everyone. Fuel restrictions apply.
But yes, see, I'm the opposite of you. I would want Elizabeth to be happy again. It makes me sadder to think that she would just be like sad and alone forever. Like that's awful. She's got so much love and happiness inside of her. Like I wouldn't want that to all die.
Sean, hold on one second. I'm hearing a weird banging. Oh no, I think it's just the kids next door.
What's happening? Are there monsters outside your window? I hear like
No. It's the kid. Hold on one second.
Are you being attacked?
Hold on, I'm closing up shop.
Close up shop. I'm closing up shop.
They're playing with the dog next door. They're making ruckus.
You should have leaned out and been screamed at them. Can't you be quiet? I'm recording a podcast.
Grown-up work over here. But so, yes. Right. Okay, so you would want to move on. That's lovely. And it was just this beautiful scene because I did write, though, I do worry for Maxwell's sanity because Niles comes in as well and, like, obviously cannot see Sarah. And at first, Mr. Sheffield's like, Niles, look who's here. And then she's like, oh, like, he can't see me. But I will say, I loved that the way that they wrote Sarah, it worked so well. Like, you see why, like, yeah, she's very different from Fran. Like, she's obviously, like, you know.
So different.
Yeah, it's like a quieter, like more understated person, but also like has a sense of humor and like clearly made Maxwell laugh. You know, and it was a different humor than, you know, Fran, but she was not some like sort of vanilla boring person. She really did have a spark to her too. And you could totally see why, you know, somebody like Maxwell would have been drawn to her and why she would have been his better half, you know, when they were together.
Yeah. I mean, she seemed like a I mean we've really spent very little time with her, but I liked that the time we spent in this episode with her, they basically made her like a very loving, like lovely woman, you know, like she's like pure goodness clearly, because she only wants like his happiness and the kids' happiness, and it's very nice. This was such a beautiful scene, but like I mean I don't know, man. So weirdly placed in an episode that's essentially just like a clip shot. Like I just don't get it. I don't get. Maybe it was a budget thing. They had to like they were gonna spend a lot on the wedding and all those extras and all that stuff. So they were like, all right, well, half the episode's got to be a clip show. I don't really know. Very strange. Because then we cut, because you had said in the beginning, oh, it's like Maxwell's in a clip show and then Fran and them are like, but then we cut back to Fran and them.
Yes, they're on the,
and we get a clip show.
Yes, yes. Well, they're on the side of the road in the middle of nowhere, and they're getting really hungry. And Sylvia goes, she has like one of my favorite lines. She's basically like, "You're gonna be hungry until you get a mindset." Basically saying that like, you gotta like mind over matter this. Until they find out she had eaten all of Fran's edible underwear, and that's the only reason she's not starving. And then she's like, "I'm sorry, like I eat when I'm nervous." And she's like, nervous, happy, sad, swimming, like so irate. And then we just cut to, I mean, this didn't bother me because it was so funny. It was clips in double time of all the time Sylvia has stuffed her face, and it was to like. It was like or something like that, It was like very, very well done.
It was like almost like just like a Benny Hill. That's a reference. Yes. Never mind. I feel old now.
Yeah,
Who's was gonna get that.
Benny. I get it. And so
Google it. It's great.
It's a very goofy English sketch show.
You only need to see one of them, and then you know what all of them are. But it's still great.
I mean, I don't know if an adult watching it for the first time today would think it was that great.
What do you mean? He's running around, and then there's girls in underwear, and then the police are chasing after him, like, swinging their little clubs.
He plays the bionic baby. So then cut back to the mansion. Mr. Sheffield is in the kitchen with Niles, and he's very conflicted over the fact that his mother is not coming. And we do have this little quick bit before that where Maggie comes in and she's dyed her hair red, and Mr. Sheffield screams at her and she's like, "Well, I'm keeping it." And by the way, I think she looked fantastic with red hair.
Same.
And then Niles, because, he's the ultimate. He goes, "Oh, Miss Margaret, I love it. You look so young. No one would ever believe you're 18. And she's like, "Oh, well, I hate it. And I'm going back to blonde." And then she runs out.
Yeah.
And
great.
Well, that's when then Mr. Sheffield's like, "Well, Niles, if you're feeling so clever, maybe you can help me with this whole situation, with my mother." And Niles is just he's very like cuts to the chase. He's like, Miss Fine has more class than your mother will ever have. Who cares if she's not coming to the wedding?
Yep.
And, but Mr. Sheffield still is like, I don't think I'm going to tell Fran because it will just upset her. And Niles actually agrees with him. Like, they don't really think it's worth sharing this.
It's not.
Yeah.
It's just mean. Like, why? I don't know. It's mean. If I, never mind. Never mind.
And then the phone, now I want to know where
never mind.
Then the phone rings, and it's Val's mother saying that Val, Sylvia, and Fran are missing, but their car has been found abandoned on the side of the road, which is very scary.
I love that Val's mom calls Mr. Sheffield. This was tickled me so much that like Val's mom has Mr. Sheffield's number for some reason.
Oh, I mean,
like it's not like it's just so weird.
You know what though? This was the age of the phone book.
Oh yeah, that's true. I guess that's true. She could have looked him up in the white pages. The yellow pages were for businesses, sweetie.
Oh, you're right. We got the yellow pages and the white pages at the house. And so then, but Niles is like, "Not to worry, sir. They're three extremely resourceful women." Cut to Val trying to hammer a tree with her high heel. And she's going, and Fran's like, "Val, it's not going to work." And she's like, "Fran, don't you remember that nature program we used to watch where those bears made a spout in the tree so that syrup could come out?" And she's like, "Val, those bears were Yogi and Boo Boo." They're like, Val thinking it was a nature program. And then they find...
I related to this because I also sometimes remember cartoons for real life.
For like real information.
Yeah.
They find a call box, which are one of those things that they have on the side of the road just for these emergency situations, just like this. But then Val goes, "Oh, it's not going to work. I'm all out of quarters." And then Fran's like, "You don't need one for a call box." And Val's like, well, I wish you told me that so we could have used the one by the car. And they've literally been walking for 3 hours. Then Fran calls the police through the call box. And at first the guy's kind of like, we'll get there whenever we can, blah, blah, blah. And she's like, no, you don't understand. This is an emergency. And she proceeds to tell like the whole story of their romance, right? And we cut to then a highlight reel of all the moments where they kissed and they fell in love, like from the very, very beginning. And literally like the cop pours a cup of coffee and puts the receiver down while this is happening. Like he's checked out. But
yeah, he doesn't care.
One of the things that's so incredible with these montages is seeing how young the kids are or were, like when you see how little Gracie was and how little Brighton were, and like, it's just like, it's like I was like, oh my gosh, like this is blowing my mind.
Yeah, it's crazy that it's only been 6 years.
No, fewer. Well, 4, 5.
5 years. Yeah, it's very. Yeah.
I mean, it makes you realize childhood is so fleeting, and I think I definitely understand why like parents get so nostalgic and sad because it happens so fast.
Yeah, listen, by the time we get the final season of Stranger Things, it's going to take place in 2001, and they're all going to have to be 45 years old.
Oh my God. Is that true? They're jumping ahead?
I mean, think about it. Those kids can't be in high school anymore. Are you kidding me? Look at them. They're all adults now. Like, they're clearly adult. They were adults last season, and now we're going to get who knows how long of a gap, because it's already been a year, and then they were supposed to start writing, and then the strike happened, and like...
Yeah, but like when I used to watch Dawson's Creek, Joshua Jackson was like 25 years old. And he was playing like 14.
Fair, I guess.
Okay, so then... okay, wait. So
Maxwell, this is so funny.
So then they, the montage ends, and the cop's just like, he's like, I'm sorry, honey, but I have one show truck and the wedding, and a wedding is not an emergency. And then he's like, he has the receiver up to his ear and he goes, wait, you're how old? I'll send the chopper. Did make me laugh. But then before they need to be rescued by a helicopter, Maxwell arrives and he's found them on the side of the road. And Fran instantly hides behind Sylvia because she doesn't want him to see her before the wedding. And he's like, well, darling, it's a 2-hour drive home. How can I not look at you? And Sylvia goes, just keep your eyes fixated on me. It'll be a glimpse into your future.
and also they're doing this thing. This was an old improv game.
Yeah.
So they're doing this thing where Fran is hiding behind Sylvia, but she puts her arms through Sylvia's arms. So Fran's hands and arms look like they're Sylvia's. And then Fran behind Sylvia is like twirling Sylvia's hair and like gesturing for her. It's very, very, very funny. I enjoyed this scene maybe the most in the whole episode.
Mm-hmm. It was super funny, super silly. And that is the end of the episode. They get rescued. And the button on this episode just
my second favorite scene.
So now Fran is back at Sylvia's house because it's the official night before the wedding where she's like going to sleep there. So Mr. Sheffield can't see her, assuming, presumably they've been, they're back. They got back from this ordeal, and Sylvia's eating some underwear. And she's like, this edible underwear is not bad, Fran. And Fran looks at it and she goes, Ma, that's non-edible underwear. And then she
takes it out of her hand.
And then it shakes out of her hand. And then Sylvia pulls out another pair of underwear and starts eating them. And I just wrote, mentally ill.
That's funny. I liked it. I wrote, haha, Sylvia eating underwear makes me laugh. But then my final note for the episode is, why the hell did they call this part 1? Like, what? Is this some HBO BS, or did the show do this in its original airing? Do you have any information on that?
So,
please tell me.
I'm pretty sure they aired on the same night.
Okay. All right. Asked and answered.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
Moving on.
But so does that mean we're ready for segments?
I think it does mean we're ready for some And now, segments.
So, segments.
Yeah, no, I think we should move on to segments.
To say we can move on to our segments.
And now, segments.
Segments. With Sean and Toria.
Okay, so I just did some looking it up on the internet, and the answer is this was not a two-parter. It was originally called The Wedding. It was aired May 13th, 1998. So it did not. So I have no idea why. Look, the production numbers are separate. So like from that standpoint, it was 2 episodes, I say in quotes, not 1 episode hour long, but they do that so that for like budget reasons, but by all accounts, this episode should not be split into part 1 and part 2. I don't really know why. It makes no sense.
Well, yeah. I guess we're doing it part 1 and part 2. Hey, then we get an extra episode this season. We get an extra hour for you and me to gab.
Aw, I love it. Okay, let's do some segments. So, favorite lines and moments.
I loved when they were on the side of the road after the tire went out and Sylvia comes out from the bushes and she goes, well, I learned something. I cannot go tingle with a raccoon watching me. I loved it when she's like, you're going to be hungry until you get a mindset. You got to block out all thoughts of food and pastry products. The fact that she said that. And then I already said my other favorite line, which is, I always eat when I'm nervous. And Fran going, nervous, happy, sad, swimming.
Yes. I liked all of that. I liked the wordplay in the scene with Mr. Sheffield and his sister, where she's like, oh, she despises your fiance. And he's like, what? That's ridiculous. I just talked to her. She adores Fran. And then the sister goes, abhors, darling. Mm-hmm. And I like that on the phone, the mother was like, oh, I abhor Fran. And he heard adore Fran. It's so funny. And then they kept talking. It's so funny to me. What else? I loved the trying to bribe the cashier with a candy bar. I loved Maxwell. Niles thinking Maxwell's crazy.
Yeah.
It's very funny. I also very much loved Sylvia eating underwear, and I loved the hands thing. Those were
all. Oh, and I loved Val confusing nature program with a cartoon.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay.
So lots of good stuff. And again, impressive to get all that into a clip episode.
Hubba.
For Yiddish, we got schlepp.
Yep.
We schlepped all the way to Jersey. We got Meshuggah, which Mr. Sheffield used, which is adorable. When he's like, oh, Sarah, it's so crazy the way it happened. This Meshuggah woman showed up and she kind of looks at him amused and he's like, it's an expression. Yeah.
Very cute.
Mm-hmm.
His assimilation is complete.
Yes, he's using Meshuggah.
One of us. One of us. All right. Look it up, kids.
Yes, for listeners, look up One of Us from the movie Freaks.
Yep.
It's a classic.
A
movie classic. And then for Nanny Trivia, I normally don't enjoy IMDb goofs, but this I actually did think was funny. So I thought I'd include it. It was that the majority of Maxwell's flashback memories throughout the episode were of moments he wasn't there for. Meaning he'd have no way to actually have remembered them, which I always think is funny when that happens sometimes in
clip shows. Yeah. That's really funny, actually.
Mm-hmm.
That's great. Well, he's having fond memories of the show we've all watched.
Okay, and then the Fran or the Cece. And again, I think this is a pretty short episode. What if
this whole show is a fever dream in the moments before Sarah's death that Sarah's actually having about like how he moves on with his life? And
I hate it. I hate that stuff. I hate when that's like the way that they end series, when it's like, this was all of this. Like Roseanne did it. Ugh.
Yeah. All right.
So, and I was going to say, we're already on to the Fran or the CC, but this is a pretty short episode because it really is just, leading up to the next. But so I said I was the Sylvia because I would definitely resort to eating whatever I could find in that situation.
And I stand by what I said. I'm the Val because I have definitely misremembered cartoons for real things.
Yeah, and then in terms of actual emotional beats,
I don't know, man. It's a very silly episode with a lot of weird flashbacks. I mean, I guess I'm Mr. Sheffield because I would have a very hard time moving on if something, God forbid, ever happened to Elizabeth. I would, even though I know that she would want me to do that, I don't know. It would be very hard.
Well, that's the thing. When we sometimes like ground ourselves in what actually happened to like Maxwell, and like
very
losing,
sad.
Yeah, it totally makes sense that it took him 5+ years to get to this point. Maybe in like all earnestness, I think he's a very relatable person in this episode.
Agreed.
But so that is the end of this episode, and who knows?
But to be continued because we've got a part 2, so tune in next week for the final episode of season 5. And if you can't wait a week to talk about The Nanny, you can always find us on Instagram and that other platform. We're at Oh Mr. Chef Pod. You can also email us at what is it? God, what is it? You can email us at ohmrsheffieldpodcast@gmail.com. So do that. Why is that so hard to remember? It's literally the thing. Anyway, on that note, I will just say one final word to you, Toria. Do you know what that word is? Goodbye.
The Flushing girl from Flushing, the nanny named Fran.
Oh, Mr. Sheffield.
Miss Fine.